He is fantastic. He's a wonderful creator. I got a chance to meet him once, and it was fantastic. So hoping for two in the future. Um, yeah, he's one of the co-creators of Stray Dogs. He's one of the co-creators for the absolutely beautiful, oddly touching yet traumatic series Feral, the hilarious but also heartwarming Local Man. He's working on some upcoming projects, especially I believe a upcoming Thing miniseries with Marvel, among other projects. He's also still working on Uncanny Valley with Dave Watcher. Um, he's great. He's wonderful. He's got a sense of humor, and he's here. Everybody, the one, the only, it's Tony Fleecs.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. Thank you, Splash Pages, for having me back. Best intro in all of podcasting, I think.
Oh boy,
Maybe the longest, for sure.
Wow. This feels like Christmas Story. Like, man, accolades and praise before 40. Oh boy.
Word Balloon has a similarly long intro, but I think I like the music in this one better.
That's all Leo.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to go with a a Superman-ish type of 1978. Yeah, without copyright infringement. It's and we have it long for a reason because there's like sharing and stuff while it's running. So
love it.
Leo, he's already healed. You don't need to keep selling where he's here. We got him.
Drew, how come your camera is sideways and everybody else's is the correct way? Why do you do that?
Because
I like to buck the system.
Yeah.
And I also like giving Leo opportunities to say, I told you so. I just feel it works for his ego. And sometimes I like being stubborn in a way that works for the show. And thank you for coming back as well. I appreciate your observation skills.
I'll stop hassling you guys about your format now.
No, it's fine. But
no, please harass him because I've been on him about it, forever. We even spent weeks trying to get his laptop working, and it's.
What is it? An iPad? Is it a phone?
It's a phone.
Go sideways, right?
See, back in the day, before I became.
There we go.
I hate all of you so much.
It looks so much better.
Okay.
Back in the day when I first started watching the show, before I became a member, the thing about Drew is he likes to move around. And so he'll have his phone and then he'll go over here. And so I would play a game called Drew Moves. And so it's like every time Drew moves somewhere, you have to take a shot. And he likes to lay down on his pillows and he likes to tell people to get out. So I do have the official.
Okay. Listen, next time we have Tony, we'll do Splash Pages bingo. Okay. We'll make it a thing. All right. But that's not why we have him here. We have him here because he's been busy since the last time we saw him.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay, so Carrie, knock it off. Okay, I put on my hat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
I was just answering the man's question.
No, I understand that, Carrie, and I appreciate your attention to detail. But let that little squirrel drink. Okay. To start up, Tony. Again, thank you for joining us. You've been busy, man.
Yeah.
And Leo, what would you like to start with? Because I feel like I could ask him a billion questions, and for once, I want to put you in the hot seat, big guy.
Well, I mean, we can start. Like, what have you been working on since you left? I know we read a bunch of stuff, but
it's hard for me to. I do so many podcasts. I can't remember what I've been working on since anything. I can tell you what I'm working on right now, though, is I'm writing Feral 13 and doing thumbnails for that, and this week I have to write Uncanny Valley, the finale, issue 10.
Oh man!
Because Dave's coloring issue 9 right now, so I have to get that done for him, and then soon after that I have to work on thing number 3.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I'm working on currently, and then me and Tim Seeley have a new thing that is not announced yet that we're kicking stuff around on. We're outlining and working on the issue of that. So yeah.
Well, we have him coming on later in the year, so hopefully by then we're like, hey, we're talking to Tony. He was saying some stuff. Do you have a comment? He's like, no comment. I'm like, I know it. Well, I will say, because when we last had you and your collaborator Trish Forstner here, we talked about Stray Dogs, which is still an amazing book, and I'm continually hyping it to everyone who will listen to me about recommendations. Because some people are like, it's not Marvel and DC. I was like, contrary to popular belief, there are other companies
At
with
least one.
quality works. At least right. Feral, man, you guys are just killing it. And I mean, like I said, like Stray Dogs, I'm reading it and I got it read in one shot. It broke me, but Feral it just feels like my bones reset and then I get a new issue and I'm like, snap. I'm like, God damn it. The pain. You guys are just killing it.
Thanks,
No
man. We're sort of learning as we're working on it. Like I said, I'm working on issue 13 right now, and Army of Darkness is the only other book I've ever done that had 13 issues. But with Feral, I'm sort of learning as we go about sort of the push and pull of it, right? Like, how hard are you going on the audience the whole time, and at what point do you pull back and sort of give them a couple minutes to breathe? That's been interesting to figure out. It's not something that I thought. When we started working on it, I was like, let's go. It's just like a hardcore song that just like completely bangs the whole time. And then eventually we got through that first arc, and it does sort of read like you don't get a second to catch your breath. So we try to build in little moments to sit and breathe and spend time with the characters before we get back to the nightmarish. Running around in the woods. A lot of running around in this book.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is I just thought that using the metaphor of rabies to essentially be, this book's version of the zombie virus was just fantastic. And then you've been expanding it. So the threat is not just to the animals, it's to the humans as well. Like there's this, and you guys are doing so well with it. It's not like, oh my God, this is taking forever. It's like, no, the more we learn, I'm like, oh boy, this is not just, oh, it's a little thing. I'm like, no, this is a big deal. Like this is bad.
Yeah, that's sort of telling the story that way is sort of the locked into the rules of how we do these, how Stray Dogs and how Feral work is. The dogs or the cats don't know anything that dogs or cats wouldn't know, and so in Feral we find little ways to sneak in information about what's going on outside in the world. But until they see it, until they're sort of faced with it, we can understand more than they understand when we see it. But a lot of the fun of this book is that it's being able to like slowly reveal what's happening outside of the the small radius that these cats exist in, and sort of show what's going on elsewhere.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And Carrie, do you have anything to add? Because I feel like I'm doing that thing where I'm talking too much again.
Well, before that, just really quick, where do you get your inspiration on these books like this with Stray Dogs, Feral? Like, it rips your heart out, Did an animal hurt you at one time in your life?
No, but like those are all the comics that I remember and sort of that I hold closest to me are the ones that rip my heart out, right? And so when I'm coming up with ideas for stories, it's always like I think about the emotional gut punches as much as I think about like the cool visuals or the premise or whatever. Like I try to work in moments of real heartbreak or of real joy or whatever, just because those are the ones that stick with me. But the trick and the thing that I'm trying to, like I said, it's always a learning experience at this point. The thing I'm trying to always figure out is how do you make it not, I'm trying not to just do shock for shock's sake. I'm trying to make the characters really mean something to the reader before you flip a page and they get murdered brutally.
Oh yeah, I mean, we see that in horror movies all the time. You just have bodies for bodies, but if you actually care, then when they die, like, oh shit, like I cared, I am sad.
and that's where it comes from too. Like it's not just the comics I like; it's the horror movies I like, it's the regular movies I like.
Mhm.
I have this thing where I feel like I'm sort of emotionally pent up. I don't cry at the appropriate times, but I'll cry at like when I hear a weird song or when I like a TV commercial or something. Um,
Mhm.
but the when I do cry in a movie or something, that's the stuff again, like comics, like that's the stuff that really sticks with me, and so that's what I'm trying to do.
I
Cheer comics. That's a great sales technique, I'm sure, is just promising somebody that they'll cry.
but I mean, honestly, I have some similar things with you. Like it is really hard for me to cry, even when people pass away or something. It's
Yeah,
just it stays in, and you need to have that thing that lets you break down. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and this is something that can let you break down. You don't feel bad about it, and you can get out everything else that's been hurting in you. And
Sometimes
yeah,
I find myself chasing it. Like if like that used to be I could count on a musical would could get me in the right could make me cry just by manipulating me with being a musical. And lately it's not doing the trick. I feel like a drug addict. Like I got to find something more emotional than musicals, more manipulative than a movie musical.
You you're chasing that next fix. You're like,
Yeah,
"Gotta find
yeah,
that big
exactly.
pie, man. I gotta
I'm,
find it. What I gotta feel."
I'm
It's
feeling
like
for a big cry.
yeah, it's like, what is it? DC Scarecrow. He can't feel fear because
Right.
he's been exposed to the fear toxin so much. So he's like, I need Batman because Batman terrifies me. I need to
Yeah.
feel like, oh my god, this is horrifying.
uh,
But okay.
I,
something
I
besides just the oh,
oh no, no, I
well,
was just gonna say if you're looking for something to make you cry, I shouldn't even say it, but I'm a dork anyway. The Luke Skywalker episode of Mandalorian,
Oh my god,
Like
like
the
this
first
Leo.
is
time he shows up,
yeah, holy crap! I just lost it. Like
I mean, that was a very fraught time as well. That we're still locked up indoors, I think, when
yeah,
that happened. That
oh
was
yeah,
like
that's
I just needed some kind of win
yep.
at that moment. Was it post Rise of Skywalker too?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. So it's just like, come on, just give me something.
I no, I kind of get it because I think the same thing happened to me when I was watching Guardians 3. Like
Hmm.
I did not expect
Jeez,
that to rip me
yeah,
as
Yeah.
much as it did, but I think the moment it was funny because like the whole thing with and again, I don't care. It's been out long enough, so if you haven't watched it, hell with you.
It's on Disney
You're
Plus.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. You have no excuses. Once it's on the Plus, man, you like no complaints. But I mean, the stuff that happened with Rocket and his friends, the sky is blue. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
hold on, hold on. That didn't break me. It was when Peter reunited with his grandfather.
Yeah.
I lost it.
That movie got me a bunch of ways. The one that got me in that movie was when what's her name? Zoe Saldana. When at
Mhm.
the end when she's with the Reavers, and she's
Yeah,
so happy. That's even thinking about that gets me going. What a good
yeah.
movie.
It's okay. Just splash pages where we cry together.
Yeah.
Um,
well,
but I mean,
hold on, I interrupted Carrie twice. So I just want to make sure she
so, Carrie, you may
oh
speak
yeah,
twice now, so the scales are
okay.
balanced.
While you still have it in that area, Leo, on the comic, something I want to go back to, and you do focus a lot on the character development and what's going on. Leo, can you go back a page or two where the foxes first show up? Okay, here, yeah, in this area, and just right in there. You have like you said they're learning, like the new cats are learning from the cats that have been out what are bad things and why these animals are attacking them and why they have like bad scent and how not to do it. But you've done superhero comics and you've done all these other things, so it's like you've gotten really good at putting fight scenes together, and in these I really appreciate what you do because it can't just be a fight scene. They can't go and attack things. They have to run and strategically draw people away because if you get infected,
Yeah.
then you're bad. And
Yeah.
and they don't really get why they're having to run away, why they can't walk up and smack somebody, but it's
Yeah.
just like just trust us, just go 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 go. And and later on they learn that, and the little lessons along the way, like, come on, cross the water because they're scared of water. And cats inherently, not all of them, but most cats are also scared of water. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, fuck that. I'm scared of water too. And it's like, yeah, but these things will not cross water
Yeah.
because that's a rabies thing or a bad thing instead of just an inherent cat thing. So it all the clues, but I love these little scenes where you were able to set it up so that you have the motion and the action and adventure going on instead of them just kind of wandering around the woods being
Yeah.
confused. Which is, I
Oh,
mean, they still are, and that's very important to the story. Is we just want to go home. Why can't we go home? Oh, there's home. Let's go home. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
they have
Carrie.
no
It's based.
idea. So
Yeah, Carrie. It's basically Homeward Bound in a zombie movie. You know.
yeah, I just
yeah,
wanted
but
to give the nod to the action and stuff that does go on, that it's really well done.
thank you. Yeah, Carrie points out something that is different. There's a lot of things when I come up with what I want to do in this book, or where we're going in this book. I think a lot about my favorite zombie stuff or my favorite horror stuff, or even just survivalist stuff. And the part that's missing from that is, in every zombie movie, eventually the people that are running away from the zombies will get a gun and they can kill zombies. And so in this one, you really, like, the cats have to really figure out a way around. They have to escape from them. They can very rarely fight with them, or
Mhm.
interact with them. Yeah, because if they get one scratch, that's it. And so it is. I always describe it as being like a zombie story, but with cats. But the part that's missing is um, the release you get in a zombie story, where finally somebody gets a gun and you're just like, oh, get him in the head, like the zombie land double tap, or.
Mhm.
So it takes a little bit of creativity figuring out, like, what's the cat version of that. How can they fight back against these things, because otherwise the only answer is just to keep running, keep running, keep running, keep to the trees, try to find shelter,
Right.
which is a huge part of what the book is. But every once in a while I try to find I'm always looking for ways for them to fight back.
Well, yeah. And then on top of it, you and Tris, just the emotion conveyed is just so fantastic. And it just really, when you have those like emotional, like thumbtacks of the story, like bam. And it really doesn't feel like a thumbtack, it's like a bullet to the chest. You're like, wow. Like what was it? It's when they're wandering to the forest and they find a home.
Yeah.
I think it's, and again, you think, oh my God. And I was like, oh, come on. The book's going to be a little longer than this, right? But then it's like, yes, that, like in the zombie movie, like, oh, we found sanctuary. And I'm like, did you though?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
you
And then
I
there's a whimper
had
from the cellar.
yep.
Yeah.
Which, well,
okay.
hold on. Horror movies have taught us, Leo, you
Never.
cannot trust anything in a cellar, especially if there's wine.
Just don't
Cannot trust the
open the
wine cellar.
Okay,
doors. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Go,
what's wrong
Carrie.
with mine? Okay, so is it far enough back that we can address the when they find the house?
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, so it happened in the last panel of one. I can't remember which issue it was,
3.
and okay, and like, yeah, okay, yeah, that wasn't too far in. So okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not doing too many things that could be
Damn.
considered spoilers. So, yeah, the the first thing that I saw, and was there one before that, or
A
no,
page.
not that one. Okay, no, when they find the lady, that was the
Oh,
one I
in
was
the
thinking.
second volume. That's issue 7.
Yeah, I didn't want to, but it was like the last page of that. Um, Drew and I had totally different interpretations of it, because like I was looking at it, and I was just like, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but the way that all of the cats were posed and completely silent, I thought that they had found, like, I thought they were all taxidermied, and that they'd walked into this place that was just like cat murder land, that they were like going to be captured and
Yeah.
somebody was going to try to just and I was just and I told him that and he's just like, oh God, no, don't make it be that bad.
Well, no.
Writing that down for later.
Yeah, and Tony, what I said to her was, I was like, "What is this? Somehow the spiritual sequel, The Stray Dogs? This was his mom?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
Taxidermist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I she said that, and I was like, you need to go to sleep. You're doing that thing when you don't get enough sleep and you get up caught with your murder theories. Because I was reading it and I was just like, oh no, oh
No,
no.
but I feel like we should explain, Carrie, the reason why they weren't moving was because it is a comic book. They're just still images. They won't move under any circumstances.
Yeah. Okay. You
Okay,
know, so
I'll
no
give you
man.
that. But
Okay.
they just all seem so perfectly poised
Yes.
and like, there wasn't like a meow hi.
Yeah.
They don't say meow, but sort of thing goes, come here, check this out. And it's like safety. Oh, it's not really gonna be safety, guys. So I automatically come up with what can be the most possibly horrible thing that is not safety, and that's what I came up with because
Well,
I thought you might.
no, the thing
And
that
there's some
killed
scary shit too.
yes, but no, the thing that killed me um was just the realization that if there's one thing that just makes a horror movie even more gut pinching is when there are children involved.
Yeah.
So the second there are children involved, you're like, oh no, and
Like,
it's not like,
what can be
yeah,
cuter than cats? Kittens.
Right.
kittens in this, and yeah, kitten. I was like, oh no,
Let me
oh,
ask you something. Go ahead and you can scroll forward to the kittens because I have a question for
oh,
you. When you read this, did
oh,
any part of you think those aren't her own kittens? Or did you, because some people think she just found kittens in that box.
no, but I never, Carrie. I think, Carrie. Can I speak for you for a minute?
Sure. And I'll
Okay,
correct you if you're wrong.
thank you. I believe that no one here in Splash Pages, in any way, shape, or form, believed that those were not her kittens.
Is that right? Okay.
I assumed they were because of the in my mind the chances of
Right.
with what's going on and everybody running away and people being captured, that the chances of somebody finding other kittens and being like the motherly character that's going to take them in would be quite low because it's like this cat is going to then risk her life to take care of these, which is an altruistic, wonderful thing for a mother to do. But
Right.
yeah, I assumed they were her kittens because otherwise I don't know how they could have survived.
I think
And
I think we just drew them a little too clean. And so a part of me wants to, if we reprint the trade, to put like a little bit of like goo and amniotic fluid and stuff,
Oh, okay.
just to really drive it home. But whenever I talk about this book, I ask people how that played, if it was 100% or if there was a question. Because if there's a question, I feel like I screwed up.
No, man.
no,
All right.
100%. Those are those are her babies because
Okay.
she's she, yeah, she's got the fluffy, she's got the loving them, and she's hiding herself with them. She's not trying to run away, which some animals would do because they're
Yes.
animals.
She didn't
And
eat them.
she she didn't eat them. Yes, they don't have amniotic fluid, but I don't think you have to draw it any more than
No.
that. The oranges match. She's the mama.
2 votes against amniotic fluid. Leo, where do you stand?
No, I think it's good as it stands.
All right. Well, I love that less work is better.
Yeah. Doing great, Tony. Keep up the work. Maintain consistency.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's you want to have a day or two of that. You don't want to have them. They have to be able to move.
Yeah.
So uh, you know, brand new itty bitty babies. She's not gonna be able to take them trekking with her and have them be like responding to her. They're just those mewling little worthless.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of cats that have had kittens, and they're like they
A little
cannot
thumb.
function nearly at this level as until they're a couple of weeks old at least. Then they fucking get everywhere. But
Yeah.
Oh, and they did.
they
Oh,
do.
did we? Yeah.
The
I've had
kittens are
kittens.
they're
Yes.
my favorite part of writing this book at this point. Is I just like the scary stuff and the running around stuff is fun to do, but whenever I get to do a scene that have the kittens in it, I have the most fun.
I mean, listen, like I said, I admit I have yet to read the latest issue, but like I said, my arms reset. I'm ready to break it again, man. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to switch gears and if we could talk a bit about Uncanny Valley for a bit.
Sure.
Yes.
First thing I have to ask, because you and Dave Watcher are just killing it with this book.
Thank you.
And like what a love letter to, like, it's a mix of things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 80s, 90s, like Hanna-Barbera era cartoons. Like just, oh my God. And then the covers were fantastic.
Yeah.
You had top notch. So how did this come how did this come up? This idea, Uncanny Valley.
I don't know if I have like a flux capacitor origin story for this one. It's one that I've been noodling around on for like over 10 years. For a long time, I've been sort of messing with it and writing down I would write down little scenes or little bits of dialogue or ideas. And I guess the original, there's a few things. I had read Planetary, and I don't know if it was the first or second time I read it, but I was just sort of enamored with the way in that book that Warren Ellis and John Cassaday made um, a world that existed alongside our world. In that case, it was just in our world, that
Right.
it was all this pulp stuff and all this genre stuff that we think it just exists in like entertainment and stuff, and they're like, no, that exists because of this real thing. Like the stuff you see John Woo bullet ballet movies, or you see kaiju movies, or Doc Savage novels. All that stuff is a reflection of these real things that are sort of hidden from public view. And I thought, I don't know why, but I thought that would be cool if it was cartoons. I guess I think that a lot of times because I obviously thought that about serial killers and about zombies. Like wouldn't it be cool if that was cartoons? I grew up really loving cartoons. I'm from a large family, and I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and so the whole time when I was growing up, I already was an artist and I loved drawing and I wanted to be either a comic book artist or an animator. So I was pretty well obsessed with cartoons. But then, even if I hadn't been, uh, I had so many younger brothers and sisters that there was never a time where we'd all outgrown them. Like that was always just what was on, what like sort of what not just my childhood, but like my adolescence, post adolescence. Up until I left for college, and then at that point, it was just like the cartoons existed everywhere.
Right.
There's Cartoon Network
Yeah.
But do you ever outgrow cartoons? I mean,
No.
I think you used to, before there was like The Simpsons, and before there was sort of like this adult, anime, and
well, we had Flintstones. That was prime time.
Sure, yeah,
That's my mother is at the exact age range to where they didn't have adult level cartoons.
yeah,
And so she remembers that mom's not ancient or anything, but she remembers like the older ones. And then it was like, she doesn't understand, like, why would you watch The Simpsons? Why would
yeah.
you watch any of these cartoons? You're grown up. And I'm like, they're written for grown-ups. Well, that's just stupid. So she's at
I
that
mean, The
level,
Simpsons.
but
You
it's
can
a
explain to
very
your mom that
small window.
The Simpsons has been on for like 33 years because the cast didn't get, like, even if they are old and creepy looking now, the characters still look exactly the same. So the answer for Fox is that they can keep making that show forever because the characters always look the same.
Pretty much.
My grandpa was thrilled when we found new stuff for him, but yeah, mom's just in that one little niche where it's just like,
Yeah.
nah, it doesn't work for me, you know?
Speaking of classic cartoons, Tony,
Oh,
what were your favorites?
yeah.
Like growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I'm the same as everybody. I loved Hanna-Barbera stuff. The stuff that would be in reruns when I was a kid was Flintstones, Jetsons, like that type of stuff. That would be before the afternoon, and then when the afternoon came around, it would be GI Joe and Thundercats and He-Man. There's
Mhm.
a there's sort of a caveat because my parents were very religious, and to the point where like they read those books about like what cartoons are trying to turn your kids into Satanists, you know.
Oh my God.
And so there were very few cartoons that I could get away with watching, and so I had to always like it was always like I was a lawyer pleading my case. I would be like, "Listen, GI Joe, I know you're thinking it's a lot of violence, but nobody dies, and if you wait until the end, there's always a lesson. So I could be learning important lessons from the, I think my mom just finally was like, well, whatever, that's fine." um,
Did they have
Knowing
you
is
watch
half the battle.
what was that Davy
Davy and
claymation?
Goliath.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a little bit before. I mean, I would see that. It would be on like public television or on the religious channel on UHF. But my church cartoons were there's one called Superbook that was like a dubbed manga where it was like a time traveler and
Uh-huh.
his nephew, and they would go back into Bible times and see Bible stories.
Yep.
And then there was a Uncanny Valley like one called McGee and Me, about a kid who had like a cartoon imaginary best friend, and he would draw his best friend McGee, and then he would go have his normal life. It was mostly live action, but then whenever the kid would need to learn a lesson, McGee would pop up, and we'd do a flashback to Bible times with McGee, and he would learn a lesson from that. So that was
I have
a
to remember. Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I have to remember you were born in the same month as my little sister. So I have to like think back on like what she was into when yeah.
Was she into McGee and Me? That would be crazy.
No,
Okay.
no. I have not heard of that.
I've never met anyone
Our
who's heard of it.
our Bible stuff in Nebraska apparently was much different. We did have Davy and Goliath, but we had uh, that was pretty much it. We had like
Yeah.
one thing where a lady would tell stories, and like everybody in every Sunday school class across the state would like draw pictures of the same thing, and she would just like go on the wall. And then like one time my stepbrother and stepsister had their art on the wall, and because they went to that church. But
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't really have the cartoons for churchy stuff.
Did we talk about this last time? Where in Nebraska?
Currently I'm in Lincoln. I grew up in Hooper, which is super small town, but I've been in Lincoln now for about half my life. So
So my family is from Gibbon, which is near Kearney, and
I
then
went to school at UNK. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, my mom too, and then Sutherland, which is near North Platte, so like the other side. But the family that lives there
Yeah.
now is all Lincoln and Omaha. So we just came through. I was at Rainbow Comics in Lincoln, I believe.
I'm gonna be going there this free comic book day. There's
Oh, nice.
yeah. Yeah, I usually I have Trade Tape and Rainbow, and then this year I'm also going into Omaha because Cullen Bunn's gonna be doing a signing at one of the Omaha comic book shops for
Oh,
free
cool.
comic book day. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
hit
love
three
Trade
this
Tape.
year.
Yeah. We stopped at Trade Tape, and that place ruled as well. Those guys have been very cool to us. I like them.
Yeah. Well, if you're coming through again, hit me up. We'll go grab some coffee or something. It'll be great.
I'm gonna
I'll
be
even
at
throw books at you.
I'm gonna be at the Grand Island Comic Con here in a couple of months. That's another Comic Con that's
Oh,
coming up.
I'm going to that, so I will
Oh,
catch you
nice,
there.
nice. Why
Yeah.
not? All right, that's enough Nebraska talk.
Okay.
Friendship. No, that. And by the way, Tony, everything you're saying, I grew up watching a lot of Cartoon Network, and on Sundays they would always have Boomerang.
Yeah,
That's how I got the crash course on a lot of classic Hanna-Barbera. So I'll throw out the references. Like, how do you know that? I'm like, Boomerang.
yeah.
Like, that's
That
how
I
I
love it.
know. That's how I know who Jabberjaw and Wacky Races and the Herculoids and Space Ghost before he was Coast to
Coast.
Coast.
Yeah,
Um, all of them. So like again, reading this, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. But then the the whole thing with Toons. I was like, this is a little Who Framed Roger Rabbit, little Cool World,
Yeah.
Well,
I wanted to do what I liked about the idea of doing my own one of these is sort of getting to make my rules for what a cartoon world, real world thing is,
right.
And I definitely didn't want to do the Roger Rabbit thing where they're all actors, just because that's sort of like the main one, and it felt like there's no need to. They've already done that, Let's figure out a different one. And so I like coming at it this way, where it's sort of like telling a real, like a emotional family story, and have it be much more of like familial and about we'll get to it in a little bit, I think, but about somebody that just loves cartoons so much that they become real to them, and like that type of thing, rather than like they work for a cartoon studio and they are actors.
Right. And speaking of, if Leo, if you wouldn't mind queuing up uh the probably, which I think is the greatest yet oddly saddest origin story for a fan I've ever read, which I believe was issue 6
Yeah,
of Uncanny Valley. Yeah.
we got to a big cliffhanger at the end of issue 5, and then issue 6 advances that story none at all.
Yeah. And again, I need to give huge props to your collaborator, Dave Watcher. I mean, the juxtaposition of style was just amazing. I mean, it's even this issue, just going from sketches to dinosaurs to the end of dinosaurs, the origin of the bad guy, just blew me away. Leo, it's around like I think issue page 12. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, this was just amazing. Just this story of this isolated girl who she doesn't really have much going on, so she has to kind of observe the world from a bubble, and in that bubble there are, next place page, there are cartoons.
Yeah.
So how did this like come out? This is just wow.
Well, it's a couple things. Part of it is, besides Planetary, the other um, influence on this book was this book Fire Breather that Phil Hester and Andy Kuhn did in the early aughts, which is one of my favorites. And Phil and Andy are some of my favorite creators. And Phil really does that thing where he does like genre stories that have just like a ton of emotion in them. And when I talk about like the kind of stuff that sticks with me and that affects me, that he does those kind of stories all the time. But in that story, it's basically, it was originally going to be a Young Avengers thing where it's about Fin Fang Foom's half human son. And what I liked about it was that you just take that as that's the starting point. We don't have to talk about how Fin Fang Foom had a baby with a lady or anything like that. Like it's magical realism. We're going to accept that there's cartoons are real or dragons are real or whatever. We also can accept that these two got together somehow. But I was trying to figure out how she met cartoons and how she came to be with cartoons in the first place. And I knew that we were doing the origin of the first, and I knew that as we were making the book, I think in the original outline it was just this issue was the origin of the first. It's basically like the whole story has been asking a lot of questions up until here, where you're just sort of running and gunning, and Oliver and his grandpa are on the run, and they learn new things, and grandpa's explaining things as they go, but there's still a lot of questions that the reader would have. And so at this point, we sort of pull all the way back and just go, all right, here's what's going on with this bad guy, and here's what's going on with this other world, and then at this point, I knew that I wanted to do the beginning. I wanted to do in the beginning, like a religious, type of feeling, and then at a certain point, I wanted to flip to Once Upon a Time, and so that's how the narration is. Half of the book is in the beginning, and then halfway through, we flip over to Once Upon a Time, and that's the story of Oliver's grandma and how she sort of is this girl who is trapped inside and can't and can't go outside and just only has these cartoons and they're her whole world, and she loves the cartoons. She has this real connection with cartoons, which obviously I have, and I think, you know, most people our age, most nerds have sort of feel like they have uh, a real connection with cartoons. You know, there's cartoon characters that they love, or you know, if they, when they go away, it's like it's like you've lost a friend, or you know. Um, and so it was a lot of that. Part of it was I always when you hear Martin Scorsese's origin story, it's that he was he had asthma and he couldn't go play in the streets with the other kids. The air wasn't clean and he had to stay inside. And so he would stay inside at the movie theater. And so he just became like this obsessive where he would just constantly watch movies over and over and over again. So it's a little bit of that, but it is also like this real heartbreaking thing where, you know, this is this kid who can't, you know, she has love in her heart and she doesn't have anywhere to put it, and then she ends up sort of like face to face with this thing that she loves so much, you know, and then you know, of course, because it's me, it goes sad, you know, it becomes sadder as it goes on.
Oh yeah, you went the uproot. It was really happy, and then bam! I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn.
I love this page with with Bosco and olive oil and the ugly
Yeah.
duckling stuff. Just because I love how Dave did the fashions in that wedding photo, you know, where the girl's off to the
Mhm.
side with their canister. I just thought that was really he really thought about, you know, what the time period would have to be for like what does it look like when a kid whose mom is, you know, in her early 30s when her mom would have been, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Leo, if you wouldn't mind just flipping through a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, but
And
all
the
those characters,
differentiation. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Tony?
I'm sorry, I'm pulling you back. All those characters are obviously all public domain. And
Oh
that
yeah.
was, I had to do real research and documentation for Boom because we knew that, you know, we skipped past it, but the reveal about the first, we knew that that character had been in the public domain because it was, you know, a big famous news story. But all these other ones, I had to point out like this comes from this cartoon short, and that went into the public domain on this day. And they wanted to really make sure that the creators of Bosco didn't sue us.
So far, so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I was going to ask
Okay.
how much direction you gave towards which characters.
Oh, on this one, it was I just sent him screenshots because I knew he was cooking, and I had a pretty good idea of like what I was looking for. So on the script, it just had like a link to the. It said like if you can find a better one, fine, you know, go with God. But it was just a screenshot and then like a link to a YouTube video
Yeah,
where it would have these whole cartoons.
absolutely love it though. I mean, this is my era of comic or cartoons. You know, it's
It definitely is not. You are not a octogenarian.
no.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
my parents were elderly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was the youngest, and it was so yeah, it's yeah. I'm not. I just turned 50 this year, so it's
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad
There's a
that.
lot of reruns I watched, but yeah.
Leo
Oh,
ages incredibly well.
Hey, Don.
It's
well,
insane.
Well, my dad watched a lot of the older cartoons. You know, that was our time. You know, it's I
yeah.
didn't spend too much time with my dad, but you know, it's when he was watching cartoons. You know, I was watching cartoons. So
We
it,
had so before Cartoon Network and before cable, we had those. They would sell at like Walgreens the 6 hour, where it's just like cartoon classics or whatever,
yep.
and
Mhm.
those things were $5, and we could, you know, because a Disney movie was like $20,
Right.
and so our parents they love Disney, so they had most of the. They would always be down to get us a Disney cartoon, but it's not like they were going to get us everything, but they could be
Mhm.
convinced pretty easily to get us 6 hours of public domain cartoons for $5. And so we
Yeah.
saw
Hey,
all of these are ones that me and my brothers and sisters would have watched as well.
Yeah.
nice.
Ha- have either of you old cartoony watching people seen this? Was my mother's like memory from childhood, and she sang it to us all as kids, and I've only been able to find this song and the one time it was made into an old-timey cartoon like that, it's a guy babysitting his little brother or sister, and he sings a song, "I wear my green fedora, not Alice, not Annie, but Dora's the girl I love." It's like this whole
For
song
sure.
about a green fedora, and it's an old cartoon, and that's the like nobody made a song out of it, but my mom would always sing it to us, and I was always trying to find it, and I
Huh.
found it, and it's just like a song she saw in a cartoon back when she was little.
Yeah.
So
I don't know it. I'll look it up.
uh, I'll send it to you because I had to find it, and it's hard to find. Anyway, I love the as Drew is saying, the juxtaposition between like real people and boom, cartoon people and
Yeah.
how they mesh together as we go through this. So I'm done. I'm just gonna drink for a little bit now. I got my little vent
Dave's
out of the
real.
way.
Dave's real good at that. I mean, even like watching the pages come in when he sends inked pages or layouts or whatever. His he draws the people in just pencil, and then when it's cartoon characters, they get fully inked. And then because he colors it himself, he's able to render out the characters more, and then the cartoon characters are just flat, bright colors. It really works. I mean, I'm just so happy with how this thing came out. But Dave, the reason why it looks as good as it does is because Dave is a genius. He really knows what he's doing. And I was excited. We really like working together on this, and I know that we're going to try and figure out some more stuff to do. Just we like working together, but
Mhm.
he likes that I sort of pushed him out of his. Nobody else was
Comfort.
coming to him and saying like, "Hey, can you draw a Yosemite Sam guy that that has real emotions?" They just wanted to draw like Punishers and stuff. So
Yeah.
this was fun to get him to stretch a lot.
Yeah. On top of it, pick, a cowboy who just can spontaneously launch into a tornado. I was like, yep, that
Yeah,
they covered that in the Turtles. That's
of
fine.
course. Yeah,
But no, it was just like again, even this, just the like talking to the sun, like all these cartoon things, like things I know I've seen
yeah,
in cartoons in some manifestation or another, whether it was Disney, DreamWorks, Don Bluth, Amblin, like whatever, like um, it was all there, and you guys just weaved it into a narrative that was just so fantastic. And then even like you said, this origin story, which is two origins in one. It's essentially our bad guy, and then the one character who we've always heard talked about but never saw, the grandmother.
yeah.
Um, like you just
If you zoom in, I don't know if you can zoom in on this thing,
Yeah.
but there's a photo over that Dr. Cow's shoulder that makes me laugh every time I see it, just because Dave drew this very adorable picture of those two together, like Pecos Pete and Margaret's mom, Olivia. It's just
Aw.
he looks like a little Muppet. So I love that
wow,
when he turned in the art. I love that so much that I wrote it into. I think it shows up again in issue 7 or something, but like a bigger
nice,
version of it. So
wow,
maybe
thank,
The
issue 8.
That's awesome.
thank-
little
yeah,
extras that just make it all tie in.
Yeah,
yeah, but no, and then like I said, Uncanny Valley's just been great, and like you said, you're working on the ending right now, and
yeah.
considering that this was like issue 6, I was like, that's gonna be one heartbreaking ending. Um,
Well, what we try to do with every issue is give readers a new sort of cartoon superpower or sort of like cartoon trick that they hadn't thought about, like how that would work if you were like if a human person got cartoon powers, like what would they be and what could you do? And so every issue we sort of reveal. If you read it, you're like every issue he learns some new cartoon thing.
Mhm.
And coming up to issues 8, 9, and 10, like we sort of start to get to pay those off and get to really have a good time with them. But yeah, issue 10 is going to be huge. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to get into the nuts and bolts of putting it together and seeing what Dave comes up with, because there's big cool stuff happens, and that'll be the end of it. And then there will be 2 trade paperbacks and hopefully one day a hardcover.
oh yeah,
I
and
I
then
want this superpower to be able to pull out a sign that just says what I want to say.
Exactly. The
Like
Wile E.
that
Coyote
would be
power.
my cartoon power. Just like
Yeah.
as I drop to the ground.
There you go.
Oliver has
Sorry,
learns
Drew.
a cartoon power in issue 8 that is one of my favorite things we did in the book. I'm excited. That hasn't come out yet. I'm excited for people to see that. I don't know if they'll like it as much as I do, but I was tickled by it when we put it together.
Tickled. But and then to conclude, I guess our conversation is a local man.
Yeah.
I myself, I this is my first time reading an nice chunk of it. I thought it was absolutely great. You and the great Tim Seeley just created such a wonderful, weird world. But I had one question because I'm a '90s comics fan, and I'm fairly certain at the end of the issue 1, the last panel, you guys have an homage to something that I own and I've read, which
Obviously.
which was I think it's the last page of Spawn issue 4 with the you guys had strung up the villain in chains and and I
like
was
the
like, and I saw that and I was like, oh my god, that's a great homage. Were you like things like that? Was that part of the plan? Was that the nice? Were you guys Spawn fans? You know,
of course, yeah. I mean, we were huge 1990s Image Comics fans, and like Spawn, I think, in retrospect, is one of the ones. Spawn, Savage Dragon. I mean, I still love all of them, but Spawn is still kicking and sort of had a foundation strong enough to still be going. 300 plus issues later. Savage Dragon, same deal.
right?
But those first 12, however long Todd was just doing it by himself. Those are all time classic comics. Like he was good on Spider-Man. He was obviously like a game changer on Spider-Man, and he broke records and stuff like that. But I feel like his best work is those first issues of Spawn. Like I think it's
absolutely.
So yeah, and when we wrote the script for this, it just said in the script, like, Hodag is hung up in his cell like Billy Kincaid. So
that's amazing. Oh my god, yeah. Because I saw that, I was like, oh man. And I remembered how I felt when I was reading Spawn for the first time, and Twitch and Sam find Billy in their office, and I was just like, God damn.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You had the sign and everything. I was like, dude, it's better than Al's poem. I'll tell you that. I was like, God damn.
Part of what we were doing with Local Man was because we're telling a story about a '90s superhero. A lot of time we would do just straight homages to stuff, but we would often do like allusions to other '90s characters or just name check them or stuff. Just try and make it feel like, remind people that that's the world we're in. Or when Tim would do these backup stories, he's just drawing in his, like most '90s style possible, and we would talk about, like visual tropes that they would do in the '90s. There's one, I think, in like issue 4 of this arc where we just do like a huge face where it's like half a face. Was a real Todd McFarlane would do it all the time, and Silvestri would do it sometimes, where you could just fill up half a page with having just like a tall panel of half a face.
Yeah.
So we would just try and do stuff like that. And then when I would do these parts, the Farmington parts, it was a lot about trying to make all that feel like it fit into the world and like it was this grounded thing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
My favorite character. Sorry, I know it's like this huge world, but my favorite character is the truck driver that's like his Uber driver kind of guy who just every time, are you sure you're not cross-jack? No, I'm looking at, well, fuck him too. Fuck cross-jack. And I'm just like, every time it just kills me. And
I draw with photo reference in this book, so all these people are, different friends of mine, and the Uber driver is one of my best friends, my friend Nick, who I actually, when I moved out to LA, we were roommates, and I've known him for like over 20 years, and so he's always pitching me stories about what the Uber driver could be doing if we come back, Uber driver miniseries, Uber driver one shots. Like he likes that people like the Uber driver.
Oh, Carrie,
I'm on that. I'd buy a whole like do a mini series on him or something. I'd be all over it.
Yeah, we gave him some good. Did you read the whole thing, or did you just read the first arc?
Well, we read the first
I've read
arc.
most of it.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten to the final issue yet. I had it going on, and then I have to get there. because
Scuba
I
Driver gets
got
some good.
confused.
Oh, because of the 25?
Yeah, it was one of the like it happens sometimes, but I was like, where do I find the rest of them?
Yeah.
I can't just jump to the last one. I got to find, and then oh, okay, yeah. So you did succeed in confusing me by jumping ahead 12 or 10 issues.
Yeah, it's we went from 13 to 25, so 12
Or
issues
12.
a year.
Okay, I was right the first time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
that was another thing we ripped off from the early 90s Image books, because they did that pretty early on, around when those books, when like Stormwatch and Brigade and Bloodshot all hit Supreme, when they all hit issue 12, they jumped forward to issue 25 and did this Images of Tomorrow thing.
Mhm.
And we thought, when we were wrapping up the series for now, we thought like, well, the coolest way to do like a coda issue or like a finale issue would be to jump forward into the future.
Absolutely.
Mahana also would totally read a one shot about what
Right.
the driver does during other times.
All right, we'll do
Mahana's
more.
awesome.
We'll do
Well,
more.
I mean, Tony, you understand that's literally what happened. Is she was like, Aspen was like, you know what happened to the rest of it? And I was like, one, I'm still reading it, and two, like the story concluded, and I had to say it like that because I was like, books come back.
Yeah.
And
Um,
and with
you know,
Local Man, every book is basically two books because you
Yeah.
get this at the so you're reading like what's happening and what happened.
mhm,
Yeah.
So
If you're reading it in issues, it's a flip book, and if you're reading it in trades, it's a every issue has a backup story. And that was sort of
absolutely.
the original concept of the book, was that me and Tim were both writer artists, and we could come together and make something where we would both write and draw. And I described it earlier this week as sort of like, when you hear about how Robert Rodriguez made El Mariachi, he was like, "Oh, I got a guitar case, and I got a turtle, and I got some old guns and stuff." And he's like, "What can I make with all that stuff?" And that was sort of how this book was. It was like, well, I can draw like this sort of. And Seeley was like, "Oh, I can do like my 90s," because he drew Wildcats, like I can do a real 90s sort of like over the top thing, and we both can write it. And so it was about, using all the stuff that we had.
so I'm gonna do this, and I do this all the time, and it annoys people. The lettering. So
Yes.
the sound effects here, it's so like I do this all the fucking time in the like their eyes where the lettering is just basic. It's just straight
Yeah.
across. Like it's not going to take all this because it's not somebody who's like, bam, 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 bam. It's just like, yeah, I'm a fucking superhero, and you're not worth my time. So just you're going to get the basic shunk, crush,
Yeah.
cocoon.
Yeah.
It's not going to be this huge explosion. It's just what's going to happen. You're going to deal with it. At least I hope that's what you're going for, because that's what it
Yeah.
felt like. Was like you aren't worth the time for me to put like any more effort than the basics into my fighting you, because I can just
Well,
snap.
you're very astute, and you're coming up on, you're going to see it, because I also I letter all the books, but I don't take a credit. But you see here, we switch to the more bouncy, fun, like imagey sound
Right.
effect. And that happens when because that panel is also drawn by Seeley. Whenever Crossjack sort of starts to feel heroic or starts to feel that old feeling, we have Tim draw it, and that keeps up through the course of the whole series. Like the panels will switch back and forth, where
Right.
Tim's not just drawing the flashbacks. Sometimes he draws panels in the main story. And so yeah, the regular everyday sound effects are these, just the sort of like light yellow, like whatever that is, Helvetica or Swiss,
Right.
and then whenever it's like real superhero-y stuff, then we get like a real big sound effect.
Oh no,
You
it
did
was
put
it was
effort into this
yeah.
action.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
glad you noticed. I appreciate you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
appreciate you as well.
she does. But on top of it, I was just reading, like when I was reading the first volume, I was like we just read books that I swear I'm always like, why isn't this a show? Because like we were reading, we did this last week. We had the great Cullen Bunn
Mhm.
on, and we were talking about his book Bone Parish, and I was like, why isn't this a series? This is so fucking. And I was thinking the same thing, like the night, like we're getting through. I think we're getting past the 80s nostalgia. We're getting to the 90s. People take the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. I'm
Mhm.
reading this. I'm like, yes, Why isn't this a show? This is perfect. It's got superheroes. It's got 90s. It's got people. You know, there's language. There's sex jokes. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is just 90s fanboy nostalgia superhero supreme. So one, like, wow, like I really hope one day we'll get a local man show. That would be amazing. Then the second question I had is a separate one. You and Tim had such affinity for the 90s and Image and whatnot. Did you ever get to meet any of them? Like, I just
I mean, Tim has worked for, I think, all of them at one point or another. He worked for Rob on the 2012 Extreme relaunch. He did Bloodstrike, and he, like I say, he drew Wildcats, and he's writing stuff for McFarlane right now. And then I don't know if he worked for Valentino ever, but Valentino was the one who brought Tim over to Image Comics, like when Devil's Due was sort of going under after they lost the G.I. Joe license. Valentino was the one that brought Hackslash and Tim over to Image, I believe. I believe that's how the story goes. Tim knows him a lot better than I do. I don't. Besides Valentino, I don't have like a email or personal relationship with any of them. But that's kind of okay with me because they're all so special to me that I would prefer to just have that. Like, I love the relationship that I have in my heart with, Mark Silvestri and Rob Liefeld, and I have a feeling if I had like a real relationship with them, it would suck. So, there's, they are very sweet to their fans and stuff, but I just, I can't imagine it being better than the way that their art made me feel,
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
So speaking of art, what do you have back on your wall there? Is this
this
family
is just
pictures
my
or is this...
stuff. This is a Madonna that was at my grandparents' house, and it just sort of looks like Nicolas Cage. And then,
oh no!
But everybody in my family knows that painting. So when my grandparents passed away, I inherited. I wanted that. That's all I wanted. And then there's portraits of dogs that have passed away, old dogs, and then just family stuff, some art.
Oh, okay.
There's a painting.
I saw a bride and I saw a dog, and I was just like, maybe, like, I don't know.
It's very on brand. It's dogs, it's horror, it's all this the stuff that I like.
That could be Nick Cage, because we sorry, I'm thinking of Keanu. Keanu is immortal. I don't know if Nick Cage
No, but Nick Cage was Dracula at one point, So
how did you confuse Nicolas Cage with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Two amazing, handsome action stars. It sounds
but it's funny because you could say that my brain was just kind of finding like the right joke to say like a Nick Cage impression, like, "What do you mean? We've got to go to Nazareth?" Just well, I'm not going to cut that short because someone in our room is not the greatest Nicolas Cage fan, so I do not want to catch any of those squirrel hands. Especially since it's right above me, and we are talking about a thing where cartoon characters can pierce the worlds of physical reality. Stop it! I see you up there, watching you, little psychopath nut machine. No, that's just no. But point is, local man. If that's ever a show, holy crap, that would be awesome. So
yeah, I would love that too. I guess Tim and I keep making the project we're working on now. Is also sort of a combination of things that you wouldn't necessarily think would go together, and I always think that that's the kind of stuff that I love and that I love to make. But it also feels like it's, I'm not making the stuff that you could just sell easily in Hollywood, where they would just go like, oh, sure, a 1990s Image Comics superhero, everyone understands that, like there's a little bit of ground you have to cover to explain to people what it is. In a comic shop, it's a little bit easier, but out in the real world, it's a bit more like you have to be like, all right, so Deadpool, right? Well, so after he created Deadpool, that guy went and made this other thing, and all the best guys in comics went and made this other thing, and it all looked crazy like this. So it's I would love for it to be a show, but obviously we made it to be a comic. Like it is so much a comic that like the format of it is important. Flip over of it. There's the issue where we have a guy walk, through the ads into the backup story, and so there's we were trying to make like the most comic book we could.
You did a great job, Ed.
Thank you.
I mean, the thing about like Farger's Law of Science Fiction, everything that's happening is happening now. So right now we're dealing with all these like trademark disputes and all of that kind of stuff. And then you go back and you learn like the major good guy is really not that good of a guy if you're reading the side issues on everything. He's like, go Christianity, we're gonna murder for God, and like that kind of stuff is relevant right now. All of it is very relevant right now. So I think it's getting more relevant, weirdly enough. So if you predict it, you better start writing some more, because I don't want the end of days to come around just yet.
What if hopefully I'm not predicting it. Hopefully it's not like a Death Note situation where I'm writing it into existence. That was not my intention.
Carrie,
watch Death Note. I love you.
Carrie, I'm sorry. When you kept saying that, and we're here now, I had a Spaceballs moment, and I was just like, no. And I was like, I'm going to let her finish her thought. I'm not going to interrupt, but this wonderful part, because you're like, we're in now. We're in now. We got to go back to then. I was like, no, we don't have the time. We're running up. I was like, no, we don't have time for Mel Brooks tomfoolery. I mean, but if we don't, when?
You want to do this? Before would have been better, but before is over. So now would be good. 12-ounce mouse. I just keep quoting that lately.
Well, Netflix keeps on taking shots at indie comics, so you never know. It may, they may come up.
Yeah,
it's okay. We've seen what Davy and Goliath can do, so you never know. Little, it's a super book. Who knows? But we are coming up on near the end of our time with you, Tony. So does anybody have any other questions before we kind of wrap it up? Leo?
Well, I have my regular question, and I most likely asked you last time, Tony. But just for regular sake, what do you dork out about when you're not writing or drawing? What passes your what do you do to pass time?
I'm mostly just either am working, like making stuff, or I'm reading comics, or I'm watching movies. Like I don't do too much. I hang out with my dog, and I read stuff, and I watch movies. But I guess the dorkiest thing is that I have just like a compulsive book and movie habit where I still get DVDs and physical media and stuff, and so I just have tons and tons of that stuff, and I really get into like the like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome, and sort of like the horror movies that come from the boutique publishers, Arrow and that type of stuff. And so that's sort of my my weird little dorky corners. I like Italian giallo films and gross out Italian horror stuff, and that's sort of where my head's at most of the time now. In January every year they have like a giallo fest here in LA where you can go see them on the big screen, and that usually kicks me off for the first half of the year, and then by the time Halloween comes around it sort of propels me through to the to the rest of the year. So I'm just watching these like 1970s crime and murder Italian movies all the time.
Awesome. Boy, you and Carrie are gonna have so much to talk about at that convention.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
My
I'm all
question,
Carrie, go for it.
No, my question, and I can't ask every creator this, but I can ask you: are you part of the super secret horror comic book writers Tiki Club?
Oh my God.
Tiki Club.
Yes.
No, I didn't know they were doing this behind my back. I had no idea. Who's in the Tiki Club?
It's currently since I suggested it, and I've been checking people out. I believe Cullen has taken over as supreme leader of the Tiki Club,
I
and
know
we're
Jason
working.
Aaron is a
Yeah.
big Tiki guy.
Yes, yes, he is.
Yes, he
He will
is.
neither confirm nor deny whether he is a part of it, because before I'm allowed to know, I have to actually write my own horror comic.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's
and
not
Brian
too.
Azzarello flat denies it. So,
Oh.
so do you want to? Are you interested in being part of the super secret horror?
That is not a part. I have one Tiki mug. It's just because I went on one cruise, and I don't even think it's a legit Tiki mug. It's just shaped like a tropical bird that I drunk a lot of.
Oh,
That
Food and drink.
counts.
What's that?
okay.
That counts.
Yeah, I am done with
Rolled
my
it.
World Comic tour. Go ahead, and you can. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Carrie. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Oh,
she's
no,
good.
I was just reading what they said and you answered it, so we're good.
Yeah,
Like
me
good
and
job
Tone
getting
are
the last minute ones.
me and
Sorry.
Tone, who draws the backgrounds in Feral and did the layouts in Stray Dogs. We went on a tour of 50 comic book stores and driving all across the United States and back during the fall last year. We were sort of promoting the first Feral trade and Uncanny Valley and all the stuff that was coming out, the last Local Man trade, all that stuff. So yeah, we hit every comic book store we could across, from LA down to Vegas and Arizona and through Texas and the South and all the way down to Florida and up the East Coast. And then we cut back through Pennsylvania and Ohio and Nebraska and Colorado, Utah. We went all over the place. So yeah, we were really on the road. We were staying in some very questionable hotels, and it's a miracle that I did not bring bed bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you made it back in more or less a few pieces.
Yeah.
So
made it back safe.
Yeah. What's a little scurvy among friends, right?
Yeah.
Could all be cured with vitamin D.
We definitely got COVID right at the very end. That was it was like COVID waited for us to get within 600 miles of home, and then it was just like
you have fun. I got you a souvenir. COVID.
I couldn't even be mad. We had shook so many hands. Like it was like we were daring COVID.
Well, glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, doing better.
Yeah. Well, like I said, since we're wrapping up our time with you, thank you again. So before we have you go, what are the best social media for anybody if they want to reach out, interact, see what you're up to? And then what conventions are you doing that anyone watching or whatnot could meet you and shake your hand and hopefully not tempt you with more COVID?
I'm going to be at Emerald City Comic Con. I'm going to be at the Pasadena, the rescheduled Pasadena Comic Con. I'm going to be at the one in Grand Island, which is called Two Rivers.
Tri-City.
Tri-City, that's what it is. Tri-City Con. I'll be at that. They'll have a Feral exclusive there for Feral issue 10. So that'll be cool. And I'm gonna be at some My Little Pony shows. We didn't even get into my vast and voluminous My Little Pony work, but I'll be at the San Francisco My Little Pony show for sure in April. So I'm gonna be all over the place. And then on social media, you can find me. I'm still at all of them, just at my name, Tony Fleecs. I don't like hardly any of them now. I guess I like TikTok the best, but I haven't had the time to put together. I like to put together like a meaty TikTok, and I haven't put together a good one. I still have to put like the rest of our tour videos up because we still have travelogue stuff from when we were driving around. And then I'm going to put up a what did I buy while I was at 50 different comic stores across the country. So I have a good one of those.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Are you on Blue Sky?
I am on Blue Sky. Yeah. I'm on there. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on all the ones people are benign or like, and I'm on all the ones people hate. I'm on on all of them. I guess I should be clear. I'm not on the ones people especially. I'm not on like Gab or Rumble or whatever. I'm on the ones that used to be that everyone used to love.
Tender,
Yeah,
Wait,
exactly. I'm on field. You can find me anywhere.
All right, cool.
And yeah, if you're watching this and you dug this conversation, please pick up Feral. It comes out every month, but the next volume of the trade paperback comes out next month. And so if you want to read it in issues, you can get it at your comic store. If you want to read it in volumes, you can get it at your library or at Barnes & Noble or Amazon or your favorite comic book store. I always like you to go to comic stores first, but if you're in a place that doesn't have a comic book store nearby, you should be able to get Feral anywhere. And same with Local Man, same with Uncanny Valley. So yeah.
And if you're going to have limited supplies at Tri-City Con, please hold me one. I will be going there with my nephew, and I will definitely be there for that.
I'm going to guess they will have more than enough because I did that show a couple years ago, and I'm getting you have to order 500 of them, and I don't think 500 people will be there, so it'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'll buy a couple then. I'll spread them out. Sure,
they will appreciate that.
Yeah, did you not see her face? You said exclusive, and she's like, "Ooh, okay."
Look at the stuffs.
Yeah. Well, Tony, thank you again for joining us, man. It was a real delight, and just keep up the great work. Like, we can't wait to see how many more hearts you break with Feral, and then the ending for Uncanny Valley. Just amazing, and hopefully more Driver. Yeah, right, Gary? Driver miniseries.
Yeah.
Driver. A bad name.
You got the goth girls being like, me and Mahana are just like, give us the Driver. We love it.
Yeah. Leo, did you walk him through exiting?
Actually, I did not. So, Tony, when you're ready, there's a Leave Studio button on the bottom. When you hit that, it'll prompt you to go to an uploads page. If you can just leave it on the uploads page until it's done. And if there's any issue, it'll give me a notification and we can send you a link afterwards.
Okay. Yep. That should be all right. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I like the show a bunch. I'll be happy to come back whenever you need me.
What? Awesome. We will let you know, especially when you and our future guest Tim Seeley announce this new Heyday project. We'll be like, well, we know him.
So yeah, it's summertime. We'll talk in the summer.
All right, listen, fine with us, man.
Need to promote anything? Let us know. We'll get you in. We'll do a little promotion stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Thanks, gang.
Thanks again, man.
Thanks so